Hello friends, I Dr. Vinita, MPT Ortho, and today I am taking your session on humerus. So humerus is the upper limb bone. So we covered clavicle, we covered scapula. So now humerus. The humerus is the largest bone of the upper extremity and defines the human brachium. So what is brachium? Brachium is your arm. So in anatomical term, you use brachium. It articulates proximally with the glenoid via the glenohumeral joint or GH joint, and distally with the radius and ulna at the elbow joint. So these are the two articulations, okay, with the humerus. One is GH joint, second one is the elbow joint. So this is clear that humerus is the upper limb bone. Second, what it called anatomical term brachium, and it's your arm. So what it articulate with the shoulder joint, or you can say it forms GH joint, and next is the with the radius and ulna. Next, oh, so next is the part which we are reading is the upper or the proximal humerus. Upper part of the humerus or proximal humerus. The most proximal portion of the humerus is the head of the humerus. So here is humeral head, which form a ball and socket joint. So it is like a ball, and in yesterday class we seen that there is one cavity, okay, or a socket type cavity, okay, in the scapula. So what it form? Ball and socket joint with the glenoid cavity on the scapula. Just inferior to the head of the humerus is the anatomical neck of the humerus. So this is anatomical neck of the humerus. First humerus head, then anatomical neck. The line separating the head from the rest of the upper end is called the anatomical neck. So it's separating the humeral head to the other part of the humerus. So we call it anatomical neck. Next part is the lesser tubercle. Is an elevation on the anterior aspect of the upper end. So this is the anterior part, okay, which you can see anteriorly. So anterior aspect of the upper end. And second one is the greater tubercle, is an elevation that form the lateral part. So lesser tubercle is the anterior part, greater tubercle is the lateral part, lateral aspect, is marked by three impressions: upper, middle and lower. Then we proceed to the intertubercle sulcus. So this is called the intertubercle sulcus. Why this term used, intertubercle sulcus? Intertubercular sulcus is the greater tubercle and there is lesser tubercle, and in between those there is one space which we call sulcus or bicipital groove, separate the lesser tubercle medially from the anterior part of the greater tubercle. The sulcus has medial and lateral lips that represent downward, okay, prolongation of the lesser and greater tubercles. So this prolongation. Narrow line separating the upper end of the humerus from the shaft is called the surgical neck. So never confuse with the anatomical neck. Anatomical neck separate the head from the humerus, okay, other part like greater tuberosity, lesser tuberosity. And surgical neck, what it does, it does that shaft, okay, separate the upper end and the shaft of humerus. Now we study about the shaft. The shaft is rounded in the upper half. So in upper half it's rounded and triangular in the lower half. So triangular, sub triangular, okay. In the lower half it has 3 border and 3 surfaces. So borders, the upper 1/3 of the anterior border form the lateral lip intertubercle sulcus. So this one, lateral lip intertubercle sulcus. In its middle part it forms the anterior margin of the deltoid tuberosity. One second. So here deltoid tuberosity, this one. The lower half of the anterior border is smooth and rounded. This one. Lateral border is prominent only at the lower end. It forms the lateral supracondylar ridge. Lateral supracondylar ridge. In the upper part, it barely traceable up to the posterior surface greater tubercle of the greater tubercle. The middle part, it is interrupted by the radial and spiral groove. Here is the radial and spiral groove. The upper part, the medial border form the medial lip of the intertubercle sulcus. So medial, this side, okay. About its middle, it present a rough strip. It continues below the medial supracondylar ridge. So supracondylar ridge in next slides. Okay, surface. The anterolateral surface lies between anterior and lateral border. Anterolateral. So anterior and lateral. Anterolateral. So anterior and lateral borders. The upper half of this surface is covered by deltoid. Somewhere. Yeah. Okay. A little above the middle, it is marked by V-shaped deltoid tuberosity. So, V-shaped deltoid tuberosity. Behind the deltoid tuberosity, the radial grooves run downward and forward across the surface. So, here is radial groove. Radial groove. Okay. Now is the anteromedial surface. So what is anteromedial? Anterior and medial, lies between anterior and medial border. Its upper 1/3 is narrow and form the floor intertubercular sulcus. Floor of the intertubercular sulcus. A nutrient foramina is seen on the surface, its middle, near the medial borders. So here is nutrient foramina. Then we proceed to the posterior surface. Okay. Posterior surface lie between medial and lateral. Median and lateral borders. Its upper part is marked by oblique ridge. So oblique ridge. The middle 1/3 is crossed by radial groove. So radial groove is somewhere here. Radial groove. So here. Okay. Next we proceed to the lower end. So we covered the upper end, shaft. Now lower end. Lower end, the lower end of the humerus form the condyle, which is expanded from side to side and has articular and non-articular parts. So articular, which are making joint with the other bone, non-articulars, which are not making any joint. The articular part include capitulum and trochlea. The capitulum is a rounded projection which articulates with the head of the radius. So where is the capitulum? This is the capitulum. The trochlea is a pulley shaped surface. Trochlea is a pulley shaped surface. It articulates with the trochlear notch of the ulna. The medial edge of the trochlea projects down 6 mm more than the lateral edge. This results in the formation of carrying angle. What is carrying angle? When you are standing in anatomical position, so your elbow, at the elbow joint there is some carrying angle. So it's more in women's than in men's. Next is the non-articular parts. First is the medial epicondyle. So medial epicondyle is here. Is prominent bony projection on the medial side of the lower end. It is subcutaneous and is easily felt on the medial side of the elbow. Then is the lateral epicondyle. Lateral epicondyle is here. Its anterolateral part has a muscular impression. Then is the lateral supracondylar ridge, medial supracondylar ridge. So what is the difference? Lateral supracondylar ridge is sharp lateral margins just above the lower end is called the lateral supracondylar ridge. Okay, and this one is the medial supracondylar ridge. The coronoid fossa, it is depression. Coronoid fossa, depression. Fossa is always a depression just above the anterior aspect of trochlea. So it's anterior aspect of trochlea. It accommodates the coronoid process of the ulna when the elbow is flexed. Then radial fossa is a depression present just above the anterior aspect of capitulum. So coronoid and radial fossa. Capitulum attached with radius. So you just remember that capitulum attached with radial head and both are rounded shape. So here above the capitulum there is radial fossa. Trochlea. So trochlea, there is some pronunciation like trochlea coronoid, trochlea coronoid. So somewhere similarity between them. So above that is coronoid fossa. So remember like that. Radial fossa, okay, done. Olecranon fossa is this, lies just above the posterior aspect of the trochlea. It accommodates to the olecranon process of the ulna when the elbow is extended. Next is the side determination. How we can define this is anterior side or this is posterior side. So it's very easy. First is your olecranon fossa. Okay, it is the best, and greater tuberosity. Both the side there is some protuberance of greater tuberosity. So it's like deltoid tuberosity also one part, radial groove also one part to define anterior and posterior sides easily. Then there is ossification. What is ossification? The humerus ossify from one primary center and 7 secondary centers. I defined all primary and secondary sectors in this centers in this picture. The diaphysis during the 8th week of development. So this question may be arise because ossification part is most important part. So maybe there is question. So you should read out that when ossification of the head at 1 year, ossification of the tubercles at 3 to 4. So you just define all these, okay, and just make this type of diagram and it will give you more marks. Then is clinical anatomy. So there are nerves are directly related to the humerus and have their they are liable to injury. One is the axillary at the surgical neck, radial at the radial groove, and ulnar behind the medial epicondyle. So arteries and nerves are liable to damage at four sites of fracture. Like if there is fracture of the surgical neck, then potential damage to the axillary nerve, sorry for pronunciation, axillary nerve and posterior circumflex humeral artery. So axillary nerve is important here. So if there is like question like write down the clinical anatomy of humerus, so you have to define this figure. Okay, and first is the fracture at surgical neck, then there is some axillary nerve damage. So if there is axillary nerve damage, so it's not a part of first year, but like in second year, third year, if patient comes to you and you just find out that there is fracture to the surgical neck, then there you should check out the nerve, axillary nerve sensations and nerve sensation neuromuscular part. Okay, and then is the mid shaft fracture. There is potential damage to the radial nerve and brachii artery. So next part is the supracondylar fracture, potential damage to the brachial artery. So in the fracture of the medial epicondyle, there is ulnar collateral artery or ulnar nerve damage. So these are the four main clinical anatomical features. If there is fracture of the neck, mid shaft, supracondylar fracture or medial epicondyle fracture, then which nerve will affect? Like for the surgical neck, there is axillary nerve, mid shaft, there is damage of the radial nerve. If there is supracondylar fracture, there is median nerve, and if medial epicondyle fracture, there is what one? Ulnar nerve. So we just taking some muscles of humerus, okay, which are important and which are frequently like in question papers. So here supraspinatus muscle, latissimus dorsi muscle, pectoralis major, deltoid muscle, brachioradialis, and so on. All these muscles one by one we are taking. So deltoid middle head. Here I am just defining origin, insertion and action and innervation. Okay. So if you want more, then you just Google it or just read out from your anatomy book, BD Chaurasia. So deltoid middle head, this is for the revision purpose, or somebody who are in second year, third year, final year, or doing their MPT or all. So this is for the revision purpose. So deltoid middle head, origin acromion process of scapula. Insertion is the deltoid tuberosity or lateral side of the body of the humerus. So here is the insertion. Innervation axillary nerve, and what is the action? Abduction. So here you see abduction of the arm at shoulder joint. Next is the deltoid posterior head, scapular spine, origin, deltoid tuberosity, lateral side of the humerus, insertion, actions, extension, horizontal abduction, external rotation of the arm at the shoulder joint. Innervation is the axillary nerve. So here you see that the anterior deltoid. Okay, then we proceed to the posterior deltoid. This is the posterior deltoid which we defined, and now we proceed to the anterior head. Then it's originate from the lateral third of the clavicle and insert into the deltoid tuberosity of the lateral side of humerus. And what are the actions? Flexion, horizontal abduction. So see, here is where is the okay, extension. So anterior fiber, what they do? Flexion. Horizontal abduction, medial rotation, external rotation at the shoulder joint, and innervation is axillary nerve. So if there is fracture to the anatomical neck, which we read in previous slides, here if there is fracture of the surgical neck, then axillary nerve affected and blood supply to the deltoid muscles, all three parts. Okay, so deltoid muscle work also hampered. C note 5, C note 6. So this is the relation between your clinical anatomy and your theoretical anatomy. Pectoralis major. Origin: sternum and costal cartilages. Sternum and costal cartilages. Lateral lip of the intertubercle groove of the humerus. So here is insertion. What it do? Abduction, horizontal adduction, okay, internal rotation, okay, of the arm at the shoulder joint, and at scapula it causes depression, downward rotation, abduction of scapula. Then latissimus dorsi. Here, origin: spine of the inferior 6 thoracic vertebra, T6 to T12, lumbar vertebra L1 to L5, crest of the sacrum, here crest of the sacrum and iliac crest of hip bone and inferior 4 ribs. Okay, insertion: intertubercle sulcus of humerus. Intertubercle sulcus between greater tuberosity and lesser tuberosity. Action: extend, adduction, medial rotation at the shoulder joint. Nerve supplies thoracodorsal nerve. Brachioradialis. Origin: lateral ridge of the distal humerus. Insertion: lateral surface, lateral ridge here of the humerus and surface distal radius near the styloid process. Styloid process. So when we study about radius and ulna, so in ulna there is styloid process and muscle brachioradialis insert there. Action: flexion of the elbow, supination of the forearm, pronation of the forearm. Okay. Extensor carpi radialis longus. Origin: from the lower 1/3 of the lateral supracondylar ridge. Insertion: posterior surface of the base of second metacarpal bone. So base of the second metacarpal bone. Nerve supply from radial nerve. Action: extension of the hand at wrist joint, abduction of the hand at wrist joint. Extensor digiti minimi. Origin: lateral epicondyle of the humerus, common extensor origin. Into the extensor expansion of the little finger. Nerve supply: radial nerve, posterior interosseous nerve. Action: extension of extensor origin. So action is extension of the metacarpophalangeal joint, interphalangeal joints. Help in extension of the hand at wrist joint. Teres minor originate from inferior lateral border of scapula. This one. Insertion: greater tubercle of the humerus, inferior aspect. Action: lateral rotation, extends and adduction arm at shoulder joint. So these muscles are very important because because in third year you have some subject of MMT, or in maybe in second year. So you have to find out the origin and insertion first, then only you learn that subject. There is major origin, inferior angle of scapula, intertubercle sulcus of the humerus. What it do? Extend the arm at shoulder joint, assist adduction and medial rotation of the arm at shoulder joint. Coracobrachialis, coracoid process of the scapula. Insertion, middle of the medial surface shaft of humerus. Action, flexion, adduction arm at shoulder joint. And nerve supply is musculocutaneous nerve. Rest of the muscle you learn with the help of your book or other thing, because there are lots of muscle in the humerus. So main part I just completed, just revision, and important muscles I covered. So like, share and subscribe my video, share with your friends. If you are watching and you are in first year, so share with your friends and discuss with them, so that it's easy for you to understand. And if you are sharing with other people's, then your knowledge will also boost up. So share with your friends, and follow me on Instagram if you are using Instagram, Dr. Vinita underscore physio. Okay, and DM me if you have any doubt or any problem. And there is one Telegram channel too, so I will share with you ID on the description box. So please like, share and subscribe.